Hey guys, it's Rick. Welcome to the HDVIBE channel. If you'd like to see more tips, tricks, rides, reviews, installs on my Harley Davidson Touring motorcycles, as well as information about motorcycles and the motorcycle community large, ask you please hit that subscribe button. And when you do subscribe, please leave a comment down below saying I subscribe so I can personally reach out and thank you for supporting the channel. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon and select all so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. So today we're in the HDVIBE garage. We have this box that says Legends on it. So what do you think that is? It's the Legend Revos. That's going to replace these horrible stock Harley Davidson rear shocks. And we'll get into it right after this. So that's right guys, the day has come. Legends are going on, the 2021 Revo Glide Special. I've ridden this bike for 5 months or so now, about 3,000 or 4,000 miles. And as everyone knows, the stock suspension, especially on the rear, is just absolutely horrible on this bike. I bottom out, my spine is just constantly crunched as I hit bumps. And it's time. I'm actually going to be putting the Revos on. These are not Revo A's, these are just the Revos. So you save a little money by just getting the Revos, and I'll put links to both the Revo and the Revo A. The installation process for both is the same. The only difference is the Revo A has a little dial to adjust, I believe, your rebound, so how fast that bike sort of rebounds. Out of the box, these Revos are essentially dialed to a 3 on the rebound. Which I think you have 5 or 6 adjustments on the Revo A. And I'll actually be putting 13-inch Revos on the Revo Glide Special. They come with 12s, and what these are set for is they will sag to about 12.5, and then when you sit on the bike, you want your sag to get to 12 inches. So I'll show you all of that as I'm kind of going through the installation process. A center stand to do this as well. You need to get weight off of that back wheel and pressure off of that shock. It's a fine balance because you need to loosen both of those bolts and they will not come loose, or you'll strip those out or get them sideways in there and you won't be able to get them out if you don't have a center stand. So that is the one thing you do need to have if you're going to do this in your garage. But if you've got a center stand, it doesn't have to be expensive, just to balance that bike and get it up off the ground a little bit. You can do this in your garage and save you the shop labor charge to put these very nice Legend suspension rear shocks on. So let me swing the camera around and we'll start disassembling the stock really bad shock absorbers and then begin to install the Legends. So the first step is, obviously I got the bags off and I got everything clear. So this is actually a 3/4 bolt, 3/4 inch bolt. So I'm going to loosen that one up, loosen this bottom one up, and then I'm going to try to do this without having to remove the slip-ons. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. I may have to remove them. I think I had to when I put these Legends on the Street Glide Special. So let me get these loosened up. So a little tip on this: if you find that it's getting difficult to sort of loosen these bolts, adjust your height a little bit so you get the right pressure on that back tire and that shock absorber so that you don't sort of try to cross thread these when you're disassembling them. So that's a key element on this. You don't want to get these bolts cross threaded. So let me go ahead and get this one off. Actually on the bottom, I actually just had to use the old fashioned wrench, a 3/4 wrench. I used the socket up here. So let me get this side off and then I'll show you what that looks like. So I've got the right side off. This is a stock shock from Harley Davidson. You do want to remember you're going to save these bolts because you're going to reuse these to install the Legends. Okay, so here's the stock shock on the left side. So essentially this is your adjustment, which is facing forward just behind your left saddlebag. And this is really the shock that adjusts the sort of the sag and the rebound on this. The other shock is sort of dead. There's no adjustment to it. It's basically just going off of this one. So it's kind of a one-sided system, if you will. I'm not sure what the technical term is, but another tip on this too is try to remove the bottom portion of the shock, the bolt on the bottom first, and then take the top off, because obviously, as you can imagine, if you remove the top and then the bottom, the shock's gonna be going like this, versus it's kind of hanging like this and you can get it off a lot easier. So this is a Legends. What you get in the box, it's nicely packed. You got the instructions, obviously. It's well packed in here. And so let me just show you for comparison. Here is the left shock from Legends. And again, these, they might look a little dirty. They're not brand new from Legend. These are actually ones I took off the 2015 Street Glide Special and put the stock ones back on. So this is the left shock. And again, these are the Legend 110s. These are the standard weight capacity in a 13-inch shock. And so this is a comparison between the Harley Davidson. So this is obviously the adjusting portion. And this is the right side Harley Davidson shock. And this is the right side Legend shock. So you can see a big difference in sort of the bulk of these shocks. So I think these are going to be a lot better. I know they're going to be a lot better than this. This is really, in my opinion, sort of junk. Hey guys, so the other thing that Legends come with are these spacers. So you got a large spacer and you got a narrower spacer. So these narrow spacers will go on the outside of the shock, and this will go between the shock and the actual frame of the bike. If you have up to an 09 to a 16, I believe there's also an OEM lock washer that would actually go on the other side of this, closest to the bolt going in. And you do not use these washers that are on these stock bolts, but you will reuse these stock bolts to reinstall the Legend. So I actually just kind of keep these washers in a safe place in a baggie. I'll actually just put the stock shocks back in this Legends box and save that for future use. If I ever switch bikes out again, I can go back to my Legends. Okay, so we're gonna start with the right side. So essentially, you're starting with this portion goes up, and your Legend logo is sort of toward the top part of this. So this is the right shock. So before we put this in, so again, the small spacer goes on the outside, the large spacer goes on the inside, closest to the bike. And then before you put this on, make sure to put a little bit of blue Loctite on this so that you do get a nice secure fit. You know, obviously torque spec to the appropriate torque specs, but we'll get some of this blue Loctite on here, and that will actually lock this into the bike nice and solid, so we don't have to worry about those bolts working their way out. So I've got the blue Loctite on there. I'll torque that down, but as you can see, so this shock is 1 inch longer out of the box than the standard Harley Davidson shock. So here's where it needs to go in. So as you can see, it's way down here and this is up. So what that means is I need to begin to lift that bike up with my center jack stand so that this becomes then aligned with that, so that I can easily put that bottom bolt in, not get it cross-threaded, and then begin to tighten that up, both the top and the bottom equally. So this is a slow process. You kind of got to get this lined up. You can see how the bike suspension is moving up, and we're getting closer to getting that rear shock lined up with that bolt connection point. So I'm going to slowly do this, and then we're going to do a few tests. And it's critical that you get this lined up properly so that you don't get that bottom bolt cross-threaded, because if you get that cross-threaded, you're going to really mess up this whole installation process. Okay, so I'm having a little bit of a challenge getting this exactly lined up, and actually my exhaust is getting too close to this axle nut, so I'm actually going to have to drop the exhaust just a little bit here. So I'm going to loosen these rear bolts, see if I can get this to drop. I may actually need to loosen the clamp a little bit just to get this to flex down. Actually, maybe not. So that should give me enough clearance now. See if I can get this lined up. I'm off by just a very little, so I just need to take a little bit more weight off that rear tire to get that to bump up. After a little bit of trial and error, I actually got this lined up. I put a little WD-40 in the threads to kind of clean up some of the junk that's in there. And then now I'm going to put some thread locker on that, and then this bolt should go in. Putting this bolt in, you should be able to get that started by hand, and if it doesn't start by hand easily, you don't have it lined up properly. So there we go. So see, I can begin to twist this in by hand, and it's going in nice and smooth. So I know it's not cross-threaded. So now I can actually then once I get a little bit farther in, I can actually use the wrench to begin to tighten both of these up at the same amount. And then you do want to get your foot-pound torque spec set for your bike specifically. So I'm not going to quote that, but I'll get the foot-pound. I have a foot-pound wrench as well to set this spec on that, and then we'll switch over and get the other side. And so I've got both sides installed, and what you should see, it is a 13-inch shock. When it's sitting here, just the weight on the bike, I've taken it off the center stand. From the center of this bolt to the center of this bolt should be about 12.5, and that is about where we are. So about 12.5. And then when I sit on it, this will actually then sag about another 1/2 inch. I think I have it set right now at about 12.125, which is fine. I mean, that's in the range, right around 12. It's not an exact measurement, but pretty close. Again, it's from the center of this bolt to the center of that bolt. And then you should get a pretty comfortable ride, because that's going to give you about 1 inch of travel on these 13-inch shocks. So again, the stock shocks on the specials are a 12-inch shock that sits at 12-inch. So this is, again, a 13-inch, sits at 12.5, rides at about 12. And again, to adjust, you basically just turn this clockwise, and that will reduce that, or give you less sag to get you down to that 12 inches. If you need to bring it up, you turn it this way. And again, to bring it down, you turn to the right or clockwise. And then that'll get your sag adjusted to where you need it. Hey guys, so the time to remove the old shocks and put these Legends on was about, I would say, an hour. The most challenging part, again, is you want to get the level of the bike just right so that you can get these bolts in by hand easily, so that you don't get those things cross-threaded, because if you get them cross-threaded, you're going to have all kinds of problems. So I've got these Legends on. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting out on the road. If you guys like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this type of content, please share it with your friends. Hit that bell notification so you do get notified every time I do put out new content. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Life is short. Get out and ride the bike. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.